Violence has been on the minds of many New Mexicans in recent weeks. You probably heard about the shooting death of 4-year-old Lily Garcia in a road rage incident, certainly. And Albuquerque police officer Daniel Webster was shot during a routine traffic stop 2 weeks ago and died last week. There were many different issues in each of these cases and other incidents of violence. What do you think needs to be done now to address violence in New Mexico? Go to our website, newmexicoinfocus.org, to tell us what you think. You can also share your comments with us through Facebook and Twitter. Just search for New Mexico in Focus. I'm joined at the table this week by Tom Garrity with the Garrity Group PR, Sophie Martin, an attorney and editor of DukeCityFix.com, and we welcome back Marcia Garcia with Strategies 360. Welcome to all of you. Tom, let me start with you. We haven't had you on the table for quite a while. I'm glad you're here. You certainly see the news stories about violence in Albuquerque, other parts of the state. A lot of press has come out. We had a Wall Street Journal piece, we had ABC News. All kinds of things this past week have unfortunately hitched around the death of Officer Webster, who was being laid to rest this week with a funeral. Your overall sense of what we need to change the outlook of how we put Albuquerque out there. What's our image? How do we solve this problem before we get to the nuts and bolts of it?
Yeah, well, it's like a mosquito in a nudist colony. You know, I mean, it's like, where do you begin?
Right.
I mean, such a series of very tragic events. And I spent, since Balloon Fiesta, a lot of time out on the road in other states, just on client business. And I was taking a look at the media coverage of how Albuquerque and New Mexico is perceived. And right now, it's almost as if there's a hypersensitivity of all things wrong in New Mexico in general. And so, you know,
meaning ourselves as New Mexicans, we're hypersensitive to what's going on out
I
there?
think the media itself is hypersensitive, but the media is not the issue.
Gotcha.
You know, they're just highlighting the issues that, you know, that people are interested in, knowing as far as, you know, crime right now is the #1 issue. Amongst many people in our nation. And law enforcement is right behind. And so, you know, when we had the very tragic events that unfolded in our city, you know, that's like the two things that capture the media's attention.
Right.
So, you know, I think the only thing you can do is show how are we showing compassion to the victims that are impacted by these events. And it's by showing the compassion, which I think the community has, you know, really just stepped up incredibly in so many levels. I think it's by showing that compassion is how we start to change the conversation.
Good point there. Marcia, you know, that Wall Street Journal piece started with the line, in this troubled city, talking about Albuquerque. And I think about friends I've heard from around the country. We all go through this. We have phone calls and family, you know, what's going on with Albuquerque. We've got things going on. We've had things thrown on the table. It's a time of change. It seems like something is in the air. Is it the fact that we're demanding change as a citizenry? We're not relying on politicians to come up with the answers. It seems like we're looking for answers now. Would you agree with that? That's the difference now?
I think that is the answer.
Yeah.
Or that's what it's looking like right now. But I think it's also opening up the lens a little bit more and looking at everything as well, where we have a lot more community involvement and people saying we need change now. Things have got to start being different. But then we've also got to look at leadership and what is leadership willing to do? You know, who's willing to come to the table and have these honest conversations where we're looking for solutions that are outside of the box. We're not looking to do what we've done in the past, because unfortunately that hasn't worked.
Right.
So I think that this is an exciting time for Albuquerque and for New Mexico, because we are looking for something different, because we know that we can't continue with what we currently have.
I referenced the ABC News story I passed over, and Senator Jerry Ortiz-Pino was quoted saying, look, you can't lock up everybody. You have to find ways to get money towards resources for rehabilitation, for jobs, for schooling.
And I think Jerry's point is a really important one. You know, I think when we're under the pressure of people dying, the tremendous shock that we've had, we have a tendency to say, well, this is the one solution. Or, unfortunately, sometimes we say there's no solution, but this is the one solution. And we see that, unfortunately, in our city leadership right now, where they're saying, you know, this is about the courts, this is about the legislature, not keeping people locked up. But for instance, we know a great deal about the societal and economic pressures that contribute to a higher crime rate in cities like ours. We know, for instance, that people who are most likely to participate in road rage incidents, who are most likely to harm someone in that circumstance, younger men, economically disadvantaged, low education. That starts to sound, when we think about that profile, that starts to sound like a decent-sized chunk of the people here in Albuquerque, and we have looked at those economic issues. We're still in not great economic shape. we have to look beyond just have we locked people up, as Ortiz y Pino was saying, to what's causing these things to happen. What pressures come to bear that make it more likely that someone will be injured, someone will pull a trigger, someone will hurt another person, and our political class is not good at that. We as a society are not necessarily good at that, but it's desperately needed and has been for some time here.
Let me stay with you, Sophie Martin, and take the other side of that as well. And that is, we've had a big journal piece on Sunday this past about repeat offenders. There is something there about hardcore felons who have hardcore records where you can look at it on paper, regrettably, after the fact and say, wow, look at this trail. How could we not know this person was going to be a problem?
I have to say, we also know from our police force, from our DA, from our PDs, from our court system, that entire constellation is woefully underfunded, and I think deliberately underfunded. Not to sound paranoid, but money had to go somewhere, and it didn't go, or enough of it didn't go to those places. And we've tended to focus on enough funding for the police, but there has to be enough funding for the PDs, for the DAs, and for the courts in order to give them the space, basically, to make sure that people don't fall through the cracks. And there has to be, also the space where we listen to those groups and we say, yeah, I hear what you're saying about this issue before it becomes a crisis. Well, it's a crisis now. And what I see is our political leaders, again, pointing fingers instead of coming forward with creative solutions.
Tom, your thought on that? There's a point there. I'm not saying, it's not about repeat offenders. Certainly, there's absolutely a point, but there's only so many beds. We've had decrees in years past here when we've had our jails overpopulated, so we've had that problem as well here. So how, this repeat offender thing, how do we get our arms around that?
Well, it comes down, as Sophie mentioned, it comes down to funding. I think all we need to do is look at the wrap-up shows after, several of the past legislative sessions and executive actions, and see that, the judicial has been impacted. Is this a direct result of that? I guess, if people are making arguments on both sides of that.
That's right.
I think that this is really an opportunity because, we know what isn't getting funding, but we know what is getting funding, and that's behavioral health services. From the perspective of Bernalillo County, is now collecting tax increase to address that specific issue. And there was a lot of hoopla for a time to say, hey, here's what we're doing. We were looking at San Antonio, we're looking at Tucson, very high profile, but since then, absolutely nothing's been brought up. However, we know that at least in one of these cases, it was a new term that I had never heard of before as far as intermittent explosive disorder with regards to road rage. Knowing that 7%, give or take, of drivers throughout America have this particular disorder.
Wow.
Now, I'm not a psychologist, but I do know that would fall under behavioral health services. So this, I think, is a great time for state agencies, local agencies, to say, here are the programs that we have to address these specific issues. So far, in the mass of coverage, I haven't necessarily seen that. So we know that repeat offenders have not, that there's a judicial issue that's going to be addressed, I'm sure, at this upcoming 30-day session. That's right. But then there's also the reality of the funding that is there right now.
That's right. Marcia, do we have the will for more funding? This is always, I was going to ask Tom the same thing, so you can touch on this in a second. But do we have the will publicly, or is that coming? Is this part and parcel of the dust that's rising?
So I think that, again, this goes back to the question where we need to open up the lens a little bit and look at what leadership is currently doing, right? And when we talk about funding, we talk about, our justice system not being appropriately funded here in New Mexico. It's very easy for people to point fingers and say the legislature, you're a representative, you're a senator, when ultimately who has the power of affecting the budget, the last decision comes to Governor Martinez, who is doing line items, vetoes, who is moving around pieces of the budget and saying, this division, this department doesn't need all that funding, let's move it somewhere else. So is there will? We certainly hope so. We hope that, since we do have a budget session coming up, that these departments, these divisions will have the appropriate funding so that we can start seeing some new change because, even if we do have programs that are already set up, if those departments aren't receiving the full funding, those programs can't be enacted.
And they take time. And they take time. That's the other thing. There's no magic wand. You no longer have road rage. It's it's a process.
Right.
And so that means a long-term commitment.
And there's no magic wand as far as funding goes either. I mean, Senator John Arthur Smith and David Abbey have been, looking through the LFC. How do we reformat? How do we reconstitute all the federal funds that are received and the way the state funds are used with regards to health care in our state? So, there's no magic pot of money. There's no magic wand. This is where I think it comes down to rolling up the sleeves. It's the hard work.
Let me ask you this, though, Tom. One magic wand of a sort that seems to be out there, it's not new to us, is upping our 3 strikes. The governor has been on the record already saying, this is a possibility to take a look at this in the upcoming session. There's a lot of loopholes now. They want to close some things. But 3 strikes has not necessarily worked out great in other places.
California has gone very poorly.
Absolutely, and gone the other way
Yes.
on it because it was so poorly done. Do you worry that 3 strikes is the panacea that some people think that it is?
Oh boy, here's what I'm concerned about, and I think it's a product of our society. Is I'm concerned about that sound bites are being used, and I didn't hear the context of it.
Right.
But
Fair enough.
issues of the judicial system are not as simple as 3 strikes. Never have been, never will be. And so hopefully that's an opener to say maybe we can fix maybe 3 specific things to make sure that repeat offenders don't go back out.
Interesting point. That's all the time we have right now. We'll return to this issue again in the future. Up next, we hear why some UNM and CNM programs are encouraging students to become entrepreneurs.